Between Katrina and Isaac, what was your experience here with these two massive?
Well, with Katrina, the storm came from the north and the northeast. Because the storm missed us, it missed New Orleans and us to the east, fortunately. Because if we ever have a storm like Katrina, as large as Katrina, take the same track as Isaac did, then we're all in trouble. We're all in big trouble. Because that will fill the water up into the Lake Pontchartrain Basin, which Isaac did. It pushed the water up, and it was barely a Category 1. But, see, Katrina missed us to the east, which was fine, but it pushed all the water into the east, onto the east bank, into Lake Pontchartrain, which eventually flooded New Orleans when the gates broke in the canals, the flood canals, and the pumping canals. But it crossed two levees on the other side here, and the levee here. This levee right on here, this is the front levee. Now there's a front levee like this on the other side of the river, and there's also a back levee on the other side of the river. Just like we have a small back levee here. Now for Katrina, our small back levee helped us, because we only had 2 inches of water in the big house here for Katrina, and we had about a foot of water in Spirits Hall for Katrina. And the water came from this direction and just kept going because there was no back levee.
Okay.
All right, so it just kept right on going through here. Didn't build up.
Didn't get trapped.
No, it didn't get trapped. So that was good. With Isaac, it headed west of us. The storm tracked south and west, and it ended up going south and then west and then north of us. But when that happened, it first pushed the water around Lake Pontchartrain. Then after it got by us, the wind changed, came from that direction, from the southwest, and pushed all that water that had come out right back into this area. And so it came across that back levee here and just gushed right into here. We had 14 inches of water in here for Isaac. And the problem with that is it just keeps on, it pushes in here, there's nowhere for it to go. So it stays in. I mean, it came down some, but only about as much as the levee allowed it to come down.
Sure.
And I really believe we should start building gates in our levees. When we engineer our levees, front and back, to build gates. So when we have big storms, we can, for one thing, it allows them to be like drains.
Right. Yeah. You've trapped them. I mean, you
right.
basically, then it becomes a dam, and a reservoir forms.
That's right. That's what happens. Big storms bring all that water, cover everything, and then it holds it in. If we had places where we could allow that water to drain out, it would be like the tides.
Right.
Before we built levees in 1928, all these storms used to come across the delta, and they'd flood the delta, and it would be gone. They'd move through, and a day later they'd all be gone with the tides.
Right.
Now it's all trapped.
Huh. Well, thank you.
One other thing, a good friend of mine said about a year ago, and I hadn't really thought of it this way, but he said, Foster, you know, down here, you're either going to be flooded by fresh water or you're going to be flooded by salt water. Which do you want to be flooded by?
Yeah.
He says, we built those levees to stop that river from flooding and also to keep them channeled. He says, but because of that river being channeled and not letting it rebuild and the annual flood, you're not getting flooded by the river anymore. That's true. But now what are you getting flooded by? You're getting flooded by the salt water. You're getting flooded by hurricanes. And so we get our choice.
Yeah.
You know? And I think the better choice is fresh water.
Yeah.
Well, the salt water kills off all the plants.
Salt water will kill the whole delta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been hearing Jimmy and for others. I mean, this is the solution: is get fresh water into the system, bring fresh water.
Well,
So to speak.
Yeah,
The
it's
solution.
it's part of the solution. It's a huge part of it. We can't do it without it. I mean, I draw maps. I draw all the time. I say, look, the Atchafalaya is the first distributary off the Mississippi River. Then you had the Teche River, and Bayou Teche. Then you had Bayou Lafourche, and you had Bayou Terrebonne, you had Bayou Barataria, Bayou des Familles, Bayou Grand Chenier, and Drywater, Cypress Bayou, and all these bayous that used to come off the Mississippi River. Those are all freshwater distributaries. You know, I try and liken it to rivers are built by tributaries,
Right.
and big tributaries build big rivers. Well, deltas are built by distributaries.
Right.
We have no more distributaries. You have no more delta.
Yep.